Pool 2, we got Caltech and Maryland. Keep it going as we bring them out. For Caltech, it's Amber Liu, and for Maryland, it's Gayatri Swaminathan.
Welcome back here to day 3 of the 2026 Collegiate National Table Tennis Championships. I'm Joe Wells. Alongside me in the booth is Roger Dixon. We are about to have a treat here as it is women's quarterfinal singles. The number 3 seed from Columbia, Rachel Wong, versus the 6 seed, Fan Yao of Texas.
This is going to be pretty interesting. This is our, earlier we had our first match with Fan Yao on court 1, and no one knew she was a chopper. So she plays a relatively defensive game, but she does have a really good attack when she decides to.
So she's a modern defender, right? Modern chopper offense on the forehand side.
Almost a little more traditional. The attack comes less frequent than the modern attackers because when it goes to her forehand, she will chop.
Sure.
I mean, it's like 80% or 90% going to be a chop from the forehand side too.
And this is a treat for me. Like, I haven't seen a chopper play all weekend. We knew that in one of the women's events, UCLA elected to leave their chopper off the roster. I remember there was some questioning about that, whether or not putting the chopper in the lineup was going to disrupt the flow of one of their opponent matches, maybe put her down at the 3rd or 4th singles and see what could have happened there. But ultimately they did not. But it didn't matter. They still got the job done. But yeah, so we're in for a treat here. Fan Miao of Texas, the 6th seed, is the chopper. Rachel Wang of Columbia, great junior in her own right for the U.S. national program.
Is she wearing her USA? Yes, she is. She's wearing her USA skirt.
Once a national team member, always a national team member.
Right. Why get rid of the uniforms? You know, till they don't fit, keep wearing them.
Or you just cut the patch out and then sew it on to what does fit.
I've never done that. Never.
Well, when you get up in size there, Roger, you got to get creative.
Dude, I'm not a petite flower. Although it's going to be interesting to see how Rachel adjusts to the variations, because not only does Yao do serve with the forehand, but she'll flip, twiddle, use the inverted on the backhand to serve. So it creates different angles, and then she starts chopping, and the service variation off of her chop, or the returns are so different.
Sure.
And she does a lot of like super heavy down motion and then pulls across the ball. So it's hard to tell, did she hit it on the down or hit it on the cross?
And is she chopping with long or?
Long on the backhand on the red side, and then the inverted, I wanted to see what it was.
Yeah, and I like to see from jump that Rachel is going to be patient on that heavy underspin ball.
Good variations right there.
Fan has a lot of action on the backswing, the follow through. I mean, she's giving it full body.
See, there was the fish underneath the table, kind of a dead ball, little wiggle right there.
And you can hear that faint sound off of her blade as well. That it's almost sounding like you were just hitting a little bit of rubber and a whole lot of wood when she's on the chop on the pip side.
You saw right there, Rachel just put a push right into the bottom of the net, and she was underneath the ball. So she's got to make sure that she finishes her pushes. She can't be short when she wants to do the push drop. And as we saw earlier, the longer the rally goes, the stronger that Fan gets.
Right. There's just going to be so much more action on that ball, and I know that Rachel has to be really cautious sometimes in how much she gives it. Sometimes it's almost like you want to give it a more of a dead drive than a heavy spin.
Yeah, look at the motion that she does. That's the first time she's taken that forehand from the middle of the court. The other time she'd actually stepped around the back inside the attack. So that was the first time I've seen her do the forehand attack from the center of the forehand. But every ball has some variation to it, whether it's the heavy under or the heavy side added to the under.
And it looks like even on table number 2, the player from Maryland also closer to the table, not really a chopper, but she's more of a defender off the bounce, a lot of chop blocks with her pips as well. And then she does step in and hit a big forehand. Two different styles, same rubber, but a different way to use it.
Well, I think the girl from Maryland has no sponge underneath her long pips, while Van Mile does have sponge underneath hers.
The girl from Maryland is also pushing through with her pips. Like she's trying to be aggressive using those.
Sometimes you gotta love that as the offensive player, that you can win a point playing kind of a passive defense right there. Just
especially with
dribbler.
As much work as it requires, you know, to play against a defender, you know, a skilled chopper, if you will. I mean, that's just a lot of work. You're gonna expect to have to hit a lot of shots. So every now and again, when you can get a free one off the net, you absolutely will take it.
Well, it's funny, people say, "Oh, it's a lot of work to play a chopper," but a chopper's used to doing all that work. You know, all that footwork to get in position. So for them, it's just like a warm-up jog and then just a steady pace jog the rest of the day. And while you're sitting there, you're doing wind sprints because you're not used to playing as an offensive player these long rallies where you got to keep control to spin so much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you've seen it, we've experienced it. You feel like you've hit just an amazing ball.
And you're watching it come back at you, wiggling and spinning like that. Unfortunately, it didn't hit, but you can see it roll back into the court, off the frame, and into
some heavy, heavy spin there.
Look where her hand finished, totally behind her back. Wow.
And Rachel realizes there that she just missed one. I mean, that serve did get up and long, and that's a forehand that you would expect her to typically make, but she just missed it. Still went leading in this first game, 8-7. Great placement there by Rachel. She takes a lead 9-7 in game number 1 here in this quarterfinal women's singles.
Yeah, she saw a little bit more topspin in that rally. That's probably the most you'll see the rest of the match.
Yeah, and then again, just really just trying to get up under that ball, not doing a whole lot with it, but just mistimed.
You see it roll right back to her. I mean, that tells you she does the variations so well. I mean, but if you look, she'll do like a side spin chop motion almost exclusively. You got to figure out, was it the side spin one or is it the heavy underspin one?
Yeah, again, right now, both players just kind of trading back and forth. Some loose points here. We saw Rachel whiff on a forehand earlier. We just saw Fan Miao just push a routine chop back long. And just an unlucky net ball that clips and bounces off to the left side. And the 3 seed Columbia is up 1-0 here in this quarterfinal game. I don't want to say she escaped that one. I want to say that they played some really tight points early on, but towards the end, A few nets here, a few pushes long there, and the higher seed prevails in game number 1.
What?
Did you see anything there in that first game, Roger? Did you feel like Famial will have to make some adjustments at all?
Well, I was surprised that she was able to actually win points outright on the serve. And she's using her looping to reset her chopping. She gets a ball she doesn't quite like, but it's in a good position. She'll spin loop that ball back in. And when I saw her use her forehand earlier, that was a flat kill. She was not doing the spin loops at all because she didn't want to continue the play, because as soon as you do that, the offensive player has a bigger advantage and you can see, like from Rachel, hitting some beautiful drives wide to Famial's backhand. And here we go into game 2. I think the key is going to be if Famial can continue her drastic variations in spin to cause errors. Because so far, her first 2 points, she got one ball in the net and the next one off the top to go out. So good variation, good tempo change. But can she maintain it?
Do you think that we see at some point, if she's stepping in closer, maybe start to use that forehand more, or do you doubt that she's going to?
I don't think she wants to get into any kind of counter attack deals with Rachel's. Rachel's forehand just doesn't really miss on topspin to topspin play. Her converting these floaty underspin balls is just a little tricky. Because one you think is floaty is heavy, one you think is super heavy is a float, like that one. It looked like she put a ton of spin on that ball, but it was dead. Rachel reset the spin. It started getting a little too heavy. She did the slight bump on the push and got the spin reset, and then was able to win the point.
Just some amazing athleticism there from Famial on a full stretch, and it caught the net. But great adjustment there by Rachel just to get back on that point. But at what point here you think she might need to take a timeout? I mean, this is a big lead. Even though she does have the one game to lead, but she's at 6-2. She played a lot of loose points early on.
Yeah, I wouldn't really, if I was Rachel's coach, I wouldn't be too concerned right now. I mean, I'd just be kind of doing a motion, telling her to calm down and take your time. Where she got in trouble was trying to rush. Like that ball, she rushed that ball. There was no need to take that swing. She could have just hung out and spun that ball.
Yeah, but that's where she felt like she had a chance to counter. That was a top spin ball, fairly routine for her, like you said. So I don't mind her taking that shot. That's an opportunity that she has not really seen much of in this second game.
It's almost like a bait, though. She kind of baited her into taking an aggressive swing. If she would have waited and spun it in, it would have been much more dangerous. Oh, look at that beautiful job.
Yeah, and that's, wow, just the full stretch off to the left-hand side to be able to push that ball not only on the table, but deep on the table.
I mentioned this earlier to Sean O'Neill that Texas has been quite adept at getting their really high-level players out of their grad department. So, Mao being a grad student, we may see her one more semester or one more cycle, and I hope we do, because I love it's fun to watch everybody hit rockets at each other, but this tactical chess match is also quite good for the sport.
Another great exchange, but great adjustment there by Fan Meow to come in, seeing her opportunity. And she just goes after it. I mean, there wasn't going to be a whole lot much. I mean, she was full swing, follow through. Had Rachel been able to counter that, Fan was not going to get that ball back.
No, she's 100% commitment on when she attacks.
Then it's just another heavy underspin ball that Rachel has dumped into the bottom of that. We've seen at least 3 or 4 of those this game alone already.
It looks like it's just something you can drop back over, and out of frustration, Rachel just whacked the backhand to let this game go and get into now best of 3.
Well, this was a big turnaround from what we saw in game 1. Fan Meow played a lot of the same points, heavier, not worried about the height of the ball. She totally trusted the spin, whether it was short, low, high, long, wherever. It was just heavy spin. And we saw Rachel just really give up a lot of points early in the game, and it feels like she never was able to bounce back when she was down at 5-1.
Yeah, when the chopper gets into this comfort zone and being able to chop high to you, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they know that you're struggling to read the spin. And as soon as they realize that you're struggling to spin, they're going to keep mixing it up.
Right. They have no problem giving you the junk. No matter what it is, they're like, well, if you don't know, then I'm just going to keep giving it to you.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the blender and keep giving you different sauce.
That's right. It's a lot of sauce. We talk about the programming in Texas. We talk about the UT Austin, the big school there, and a lot of the junior are coming out of Texas. Why is it that you feel like maybe they're not able to keep them at some of those institutions? They elect to go somewhere else.
Well, I mean, a lot of the younger kids want to get away from their parents, want to go somewhere new. They've lived in Texas their last, 5 or 6 or 8, 10 years, their whole life. Hey, why not go to California? Why not go to New York?
Sure.
Get out and see what the world is, and the other thing is they may have some friends inside us, a online community that, they tell them how much fun their city is. Hey, come over to North Carolina, check out Charlotte, and go to Duke, go to UNC. And, if you're living in Texas and you don't want to go to the same place where everybody is going to one of the big schools, getting out of Texas and going somewhere else might be a refreshing start for you.
Sure.
But, yeah, it's funny because I've seen a number of the Houston area players that have been here on Court 1 have all trained at the Houston International Table Tennis Academy.
Right, exactly.
And the main coach there is a chopper.
Sure.
But you will see that those guys have no problems playing choppers because he does chop
hard
for them.
Yes.
And if you want to develop a good loop, find a good chopper. Because you learn all the different gears that's required from your loop. Oh, look at the side spins, chops. Oh, and she chopped a forehand with the red side. And lobbed it back in. Oh, off the net.
Great point nonetheless, but just hate to see it finish that way. But
that was crazy. Yeah. That's a beautifully well-constructed point of both players. But, I mean, the drove her in, dropped her in, made her come in. And now she's going to go drive out. Attack again.
Yeah, great work there. And again, right now we're looking at night and day between games 2 and into game 3 for Rachel Wong. We saw that she missed a lot of those balls early in game number 2, but she is connecting. She is consistent. She's moving the ball around.
She has one of the greatest things you can have as an athlete, and that is a very short-term memory. She's totally gotten to the point where she's like, forget the mistakes. Let's go on next game. Let's go.
There, definitely a ball that she wanted. Clips the tape, carries long. She still leads here in this third game, 4-3.
Well, that's twice in that same point. Did she clip the top of the net? The first one clipped the top of the net and made it in. The second one clipped the top of the net and sailed out. Fame out taking a big spinning loop at that, kind of unexpectedly. Took it almost a little too low.
No, they're just solid forehand up the middle. Not overhitting, not doing a whole lot. Just
Yeah, actually
playing
a little bit
smart ball.
A little bit more wood than rubber, because the rubber gives Female something to chop.
Sure.
You know, when you get into the wood more, the ball has more tempo. It's harder to control the depth. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought Rachel gave up on that point.
Well,
it
sure. I
landed.
mean, you saw how she hit that ball.
Yeah.
It's definitely a gimme. I mean, anyone else, a non-chopper, would have stepped around and definitely crushed that on a forehand. Unlucky net ball there. Appreciate the fan holding up her hand. Obviously, no one intentionally hits the net.
She needed to wait.
Yes, exactly. Definitely felt like she could have given that another, good brush.
Yeah, that would have been a ball to spin loop, because hitting that would have been really hard because it wasn't high enough.
Tough. It's just a really tough ball to drive.
There's no room. Nice backhand.
Yeah. And that's one of the rare ones that we've seen in this match so far.
Look how
and I'm
good
sure
she turned her hips on that ball. Before, she was getting locked into that position and not being able to turn. There, she unlocked the shoulders and hips and spun the ball in beautifully.
And again, another great forehand. More, middle of the table. Didn't really overhit too much.
No, but what it did is it opened the court. The backhand, the point before, opened the court up.
Wow.
I'm surprised we're not seeing a little bit of a different serve there from Fan. I mean, really, it's nothing right here. She's giving it a little bit too much. But man, when she turns it up the spin, if you're not spot on, it's going in the net.
When you're seeing a ball like that, right, everyone thinks probably at home, if you're not familiar with the variation of spins, you see a ball that high, the first thought in your mind is like, oh, I should just be able to flatten that out. But again, because it's so high, what would you recommend for, the rec or casual player at home seeing a ball like that and they're just like, oh, that's pretty easy?
Well, evaluate the skill of your opponent. Because if it's super heavy spin and you're reaching a little bit farther out, then it's going to go in the net because your racket closes as you swing forward. So unless you can get the ball near your shoulder so you can go straight through the ball, wait.
Wait, sure.
And use your spin. Don't use the drive.
And there you have it. Rachel Wong takes game number 3. She now is up 2-1 here in this women's quarterfinal.
Looking much more
comfortable.
Yeah.
Did not seem as out of sorts as she was in game number 2. Again, she just played very consistent. She didn't overhit too much. In that second game, we saw her dump a lot of heavy spins into the bottom of the net. But she just played a much cleaner, more safe game in game number 3.
The other part of that was during that second game, there were times when she was shaking her head like she had no idea why things were happening. This time, if you watch, you'll see some positive body coming back,
Sure.
Head shakes, nods, fist bumps. It's critical to keep that positive attitude when the rallies are so long. Yeah, she's not sure, so she just touches it.
That is a great start for Rachel Wong, showing her own defense.
Yeah. Van Mile did some really good attacks to not benefit out of it. Now she's feeling the pressure a little bit, which she shouldn't.
Right.
You know, she should not feel the pressure that she needs to win that ball,
But
quickly.
I don't mind
No, not
giving
early.
it a different look, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
especially this
sure
one.
that Rachel was not expecting her to go, big forehand loop out wide to the backhand side. I mean, she really hasn't done it much most of this match. So for her to be able to give her that look, sometimes I feel like that plays into your favor. Even if you missed it, it at least allows your opponent to think, hey, they might go back to that again.
Yeah, how lucky was I to get away with that one?
Just unlucky net ball there for Fan Miao of Texas.
Ready, just so prepared. Just a quick counter, a little bit of net, but the body positioning was perfect. It's not a bad timeout call. She's got to deal with one more serve. She's got to do one serve, and then figure out a way to, stay in this game. This is best of 5, so if you lose 3, you're out. There's no more. So calling the timeout right here. You want to close this gap up. She's using the full timeout. And then none of the participants are too used to having cameras everywhere. And why I say that is she turned around and saw her face on our big 72-inch TV over here.
And it is one of those, like, aha moments.
Oh,
like,
crap.
Hey,
It's a giant TV looking at me.
this is a big deal.
Yeah.
This
This is a national championship.
Right.
Because once you win it, you have it forever.
Yeah.
So why not, enjoy this moment, because you don't get them. Oh, what a construction of a point.
Great patience there from Rachel Wong.
Unbelievable.
She would give 2 loops, back-to-back loops, open up, start the cycle over again. Open up, loop, open up, and not just, beat herself there. Great point there from Rachel Wong.
Oh, she twiddled too to use the inverted on the attack on the backhand. Just went a little bit too far outside.
Yeah, and she got probably maybe a little too close to it. Didn't give herself enough room to clear.
Well, you don't know how much it's going to jump once it's in the air. And she's closing in on the table quickly. It's hard to make a second adjustment to the ball.
And right now we see Fan Miao pressing a little bit. We've seen her drive that ball. She tried to loop previous points. I mean, we're just feeling like she's taking some chances.
I mean, if it was the best of 7, I really wouldn't have a problem with it.
Sure.
But being the best of 5,
right?
You're risking a lot, being down 7-2 at this point. Trying to do something that's kind of an outlier to your main frame of game. But she also realizes that Rachel has really settled into her mental game.
Sure.
She's not freaking out. She's taking opportunities when they exist. Kind of laughing at herself for missing that, but
even the ones that she feels like she should be making,
yeah,
laugh at it, shake it off. Next point.
Yeah, you're up 7-3.
And again, that's just not a shot that we would have seen her take so early. early in this game and the previous games.
Yeah.
We just did not see her
And
going
it's funny,
forward.
after she did it, she kind of did a wiggle motion with her hand because she knew she didn't have her hand set when she did the swing. What a good variation of spin. And while it doesn't really close the gap too much, it's still 8-4. You know, being down 9-3, that's a big ditch. You know, you're really
hard.
down in the bottom of the. Hard to see much sunlight from that deep.
We've seen some people come back from 7-3, 7-4 in previous matches, but I also
Difficult with the
question
style.
when they were up, they were making poor decisions. They end up losing those games, even though they had 4-point leads.
Yeah.
Unlucky ball there, clips the net, travels long.
So Rachel's got to be really happy with the way she's played up to this point with the big lead, the 4-point lead. And the serve. Oh, she should have known better because she just rolled that ball back with topspin. And when it got chopped, it reloaded that ball. It was so heavy.
Great point still, you know.
Yeah.
Again, super heavy, but
Yeah,
these are the points that she has been winning up until this point.
And that drop made this push happen. There she spun it. But this ball is absolutely loaded, that one.
Yeah, she should have waited on that one.
Yeah, that's an inside your hip shot. You got to let it come the whole way back in. You get it out in front a little bit, too much racket speed, not enough angle. Ends up exactly where it did.
And here we are, Roger, at 9-6 in game number 4. Again, other than the loose game, Rachel's played a well-executed match up until this point. It is showing in this score. She just does not want to get into that 9-8 situation where you start thinking a little bit more about the shot. Sometimes you get a little tight. Maybe you hesitate when you want to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and then your partners or your opponent starts to believe more in what they're doing. And, you know, having hope and belief is a dangerous thing. You want them questioning why they're out there on the table with you, not, wow, I can do anything I want right now. Or I just came back from a big deficit and I'm pushing. What a change in spin. Watch this ball kind of float over and just get looped off the table. She did a great job of hiding how little spin was on that ball.
And again, an unfortunate net ball there. We saw it earlier, 3-4 points ago, and it happens again where she goes for the loop. So much heavy topspin on that ball, clips the net, carries long. She now finds herself in a difficult situation that we just talked about. She did not really want to be in. Still up, but it is a tight game.
See, there's positive footwork from Rachel right there. The point before, she kind of just like didn't want to move her feet that much. And there, she really got her feet out of the way so she could swing straight through the ball. Wow, little net love again.
She got the points that she wanted. She had some really high sitters up there. She was patient. She back to the footwork part. She was definitely moving her feet very well to clear that. And Rachel Wong takes game number 4, 11-8, to advance to the semifinals of the women's singles here on day 3 of the 2026 Collegiate National Table Tennis Championships. I'm Joe Wells. Alongside me is Roger Dixon. We're going to take a quick break here before our next matchup. But as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Pika Pong, Pong Space, Major League Table Tennis, NCTTA, the City of Rockford, GoRockford.com, Paddle Palace and Nitaku, and our wonderful staff and volunteers. Without them, today and this entire weekend would not be possible, and it's been a very successful event so far. Roger, we had our awards banquet last night, which is always a lot of fun. We are able to recognize all of our partners, recognize athletes, celebrate some of our alumni, have a few laughs, and there's no other way to cap out our weekend with some great singles action here. We'll be right back momentarily. Again, this is day 3 of the 2026 Collegiate National Table Tennis Championships.
Welcome to the court. Our table 2 competitors, we got NYU and Berkeley. Representing NYU, it's Peter Yuan, and for UC Berkeley, it's Sid Naresh. One more time, give it up for NYU and Berkeley. Players, you can shake hands and your game can begin. Once again, this is the men's singles quarterfinals. Alrighty, now it's time to bring out our competitors for table 1. Please help me welcome Texas Wesleyan and Cal Poly. Representing Texas Wesleyan, it's Sonora Silva, and for Cal Poly, it's Victor Shea. Keep it going one more time, Texas Wesleyan and Cal Poly at table 1. All right, players, you can shake hands and let your game begin.
Come please, the players. Any preference for black or red? Black. Even the top, give a choice between service or sorry, you have choice between service or receive. You receive. 2 minutes.
welcome back to the quarterfinals with Victor Shi and Sonora Silva. I always want to say it's Spanish, but from Sri Lanka, I don't think it's quite that Spanish.
Yeah, and how we got here to this men's quarterfinal early on, Sonora Silva took out the top player from UPR. And then Victor, we saw him in action earlier. He was able to defeat one of the top players from Wesleyan. And so it was a really good matchup to see these two get this far.
So Silva maybe wanting to get some revenge for his teammate. Looking pretty motivated right off the bat.
And Sonora overall weekend, like we've seen him play, doubles, and he was in the team event, which they won. But he's just playing just big-time table tennis this weekend.
I hate to pat these guys on the back, but our sponsor, MLTT, has something to do with that because he's getting high-quality practice every time he shows up at an MLTT event. And then he has to go and play high-level matches at those events. So when you're getting pressure after pressure after pressure after quality practice, your level's going to get up and stay up for a longer period of time than if you have U.S. Nationals in the summer and you have the Open in the fall and you're training for 2 events. There's a lot of free time in between where your game can get some holes or get in some bad habits, but having to play back-to-back weekends sometimes, these guys have really sharpened themselves, steel sharpens steel.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think you're seeing with Silva.
Yeah, again, he's playing big. We've seen him be able to play some huge counters all throughout the weekend, but he's also just not really beating himself. He's just playing some really nice, clean constructed points, even at this level where it gets very fast, very reactionary sometimes, but he's playing some great points.
He's doing a great job of placing the ball inside of Victor's hips, so Victor can't use any extra leverage of his height against him. It almost starts to hurt him a little bit.
There you have just another great example of the placement. He takes that backhand, redirects it out to the right side of Victor, and it was just so much spin.
It isn't just the top spin, it's the side spin, because you got to get fully outside of it to negate it. And when it's right there, it's really hard to deal with. Good depth change. Really made it difficult for Victor to get inside and pick that ball up.
And another unlucky net ball there, just dribbles off the table. And again, we talked about you're up 10-3. You can take that chance, want to go big on the step around on the return.
Yeah, but I mean, that's big for Victor to have the confidence to serve fast. Because that's hard. Nice reactionary spin backhand for Victor. Negates yet one more game point.
Just huge. Big time
Driving
for him.
nails through the table right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just another great example of, even though a small stature, but when you use your body in the right position.
I think his feet are off the ground right here.
But he's throwing his body into the table, and I know that our good friend Logan did some training with a former Olympian high-level table tennis player last summer, and he was talking about how he was trying to get him to be more explosive, how he was using his core, his legs to get him up off the ground and through the ball to be more explosive, and that was an example of that. Again, we talked about Sonora not being the biggest, on the table, but he plays big, and that's because he uses his body really well to go through a lot of those shots.
And you'll see, I mean, he's down near his knee on the on the counterattack. You know, his feet are off the ground when he's doing the full, finishing shot. And it's funny, but you'd think that, that big jump into the ball would leave him in a bad position, but because of that energy transfer, he's able to hop back out.
Correct.
And he's ready for a second shot. It's not easy to make that just happen. You've got to train that all the time.
Sure. A lot of the in and out, again, back to the how critical the footwork is. Here we are, game 2 underway.
Well, he needed to let that fall. The battle's back in. I mean, it's 1-1 again. Nice serve. A little bit more energy in that serve than he did the first game. I think he realizes he can't just kind of vanilla too much.
And then again, it's just the high table tennis of IQ of Sonora Silva to be patient, seeing Victor just like rev back, big backswing. He wound up once, he blocked it back, he saw it again. He was able to anticipate, closing in on that ball and redirecting down the line.
Yeah, there was no way that Victor was going to be able to recover after that big of a stroke.
Just another amazing point by Sonora Silva. His ability to transition from defense to offense just that fast. I mean, his pickup and redirect, I don't know if you saw the angle of where his blade was. It went from low top spin to closing in almost semi-chop block and then readjusting in to be aggressive.
And that puts a lot of pressure on Victor because they're playing these big points, and Silva's winning all of them.
Correct.
He's taking big shots, and Silva finds a way to get the ball back in a really super uncomfortable position.
And again, we saw that in round of 16 when he was playing Nicholas, the player from UPR. And he had no problem with allowing the player from UPR to step around and go big early, but he countered so well.
So one of the biggest skills that we talk about people doing in practice is blocking. In transitioning blocking to spin blocking. And there you saw it. Silva just calm block one and then spin block the next, make the ball jump out, take away some of the time.
Absolutely.
Smart. Like you said, high table tennis IQ.
Exactly.
If I was Victor's coach, I'd be telling him to get into the forehand first to open the backhand up more. Right now, where the positioning is, Silva's in a great spot.
Yeah, he's just really in control, well balanced. Looks like he's not being pressured very much. Even when he sees Victor stepping around, going to the big forehand, he's not anxious
Doesn't
at
bother
all.
him. He's not bothered by it at all. Because there he is. He's standing right where he wants to be. His favorite position in the backhand. Because he's got that inside-out punch up the line. He knows, you give me the chance, I'm going to take care of it. Thought he saw something there on the forehand he could take advantage of, but just mistimed it a little bit. A little too eager.
And again, he opened up the ball out wide, wanted to catch it off the bounce counter on the going opposite direction. Just pushes into the net, but again, Right point, rightly executed point, just did not finish it off.
Well, the movement threw off his timing. I don't know how he missed that one, because that was pretty much right in that backhand wheelhouse for him. But it definitely was not something he wanted.
Here we are, not at all, 8-all in the second game. Sonora had a comfortable lead in the second game, but he's played a few loose points here. And again, Sonora comes up with the goods on a very big point.
What a great intentional change of direction. You know, he going cross court, then just rips it up that line, forcing Victor to do a lot of steps to cover it.
And just like that, after giving up a nice comfortable lead and being tied at 8-all, he wins the next 2 points, and now he has game point here on the return.
Yeah, you know, Victor's got to be careful. He wants to give him something difficult right off the serve. A good spin variation. See, earlier he went power.
Correct.
And now he kind of did a little bit of spin variation, and it just threw the timing off just enough to get the point. So
Slower, but heavy and deep.
yeah, it's always harder to block spin than power. Oh, he broke the sideline with the backhand, Victor did. And that's what he needed to do. He does not need to go into the backhand corner, but break the backhand sideline.
And
Nice
there you
banana.
go. There's 3 straight points from Victor, and then how this has shifted just a little bit.
Yeah, the tempo's changed. You know, all that energy. Now you can see Victor's energized. He's thinking positively.
And just like that, we're tied 11-all here in the second game. Again, Sonora just coming up with some really big counters, again, from defense to offense.
Oh, that was crazy, too. He served a soft serve trying to get him a ball that he could counterattack. He got something he could, but it just wasn't quite right.
And there, great point there to finish it. And Victor Shi of Cal Poly is right back in this quarterfinal as they are knotted 1 game apiece here. We definitely thought that Sonora was playing a great second game. He was up 8-4 at one point.
Yeah, just lost momentum, you know, and he opened the window and Victor jumped through it. I mean, it didn't take much, and all of a sudden he was right there.
The one thing we noticed towards the end of that game, the last 3 points just to get tied at 10-all, Victor took a little off of it, right? He pulled his foot off the gas pedal just a bit. He played some very controlled backhands, opening up counter backhand to backhand rally. He didn't want to rush the step around as we had saw him do earlier in that game, and allowed him to get right back into the match. And at this point, it's a new game. Once you're tied at 10, it's like 0-0, and he started over.
Yeah, he knew he only had to win 2 out of the next 3 points, and he did exactly what he needed to do. But I like how he changed the service positioning. He's doing that nice little Maujin side spin serve, kind of more into the middle instead of into the backhand, and it kind of pulls Silva out a little bit more out of the backhand corner. It's such a difficult serve to do because you want to make the racket speed fast to get a lot of spin, but if you get too much wood into the ball, it kicks out a lot deeper than you want it to.
Deep in, sometimes at the right angle and impact, it can go deep and high.
High, yeah.
So these guys are obviously doing a great job of their ability to keep that ball super spinny, but also short, middle, placing it a little bit as well.
Well, the last two, Victor's actually got them a little longer than he really wanted. So if you heard the pop, that was the ball hitting our mic, which is part of the net frame. So if it would have hit the mic and continued over the net and landed, points in play.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds debatable. I think we need to talk about that.
The net is part of the mic is part of the net system,
Yeah, but it would change the trajectory of how it comes into the court, would it not?
but it's still part of the net system. So it's considered part of the net. So once the ball strikes the net, completes the trajectory over the net system and lands on the table, it's in play.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Hard thing to swallow.
Yeah,
But it
because
is what
it's
it
going to
is.
do something totally erratic because it's coming off of a very weird surface. Whatever spin was on it may be gone. So it's really hard to read what happens. At the first tile break, which we've seen more players using today than yesterday.
Sid Naresh closes out 3-0 there in the other quarterfinal. Where's his opponent from NYU?
How often do you get Silva to actually push a ball back? It's not very often, but Victor was able to take advantage and keep that gap only 2 points.
Yeah, good placement from that loop.
Yeah, it's all set up by the jam on the ball before. Somehow got Silva jammed, got a ball that had some options on it. I'd like to see a spinnier ball there. Not quite set with your feet. Don't try to force the power there.
Yeah, wasn't in full position to be able to execute that really big cut off the backhand.
Yeah, I think it'd be better if you would just kind of roll it around, because it would have kept the ball on the table and slowed Silva down. He wouldn't have been able to just go in and just rip it.
Again, it looks like Victor is putting himself in a very similar situation he was in the last game, where he was down 4-8.
That time Silva was 100% ready for that and made a great counterattack. The beauty of the hook loop. You can actually see that ball arc from the corner to the other side of the table, spinning sideways. And
Yeah. And there's some people's loops that it is just a hook loop only. These athletes have the ability to vary hook loop from a very straightforward arcing top spin, so it's less side spin. Another amazing point there from Sonora Silva.
you actually saw Victor switch on the high ball. He switched his racket from his black side to his red side. Not on that one, but on the next one. Because it's a softer rubber, it's actually easier to hit hard. But then he switched back and missed it. So there was too much flipping around going on. He should have just been comfortable staying with the red side once he flipped it, because he knew he was going to be attacking the whole time.
And there is just some great table tennis knowledge that a lot of us would not know, and some of you are not privy to. But that is maybe something to consider the next time you find yourself in a offensive to defensive point where you have to where you're trying to hit the overhead smash.
Oh, it depends on your equipment. I mean, if you have a hard Chinese rubber that Victor has, flipping over to the softer Japanese rubber allows you to just drive the ball more.
Yeah. There you go.
Explanation of that detail.
Sonora gives one back. He still leads 10-6 in the third game. Victor Shi of Cal Poly to serve.
well planned out from Victor. I'm not sure a 7-ball attack was in his total plan, but it worked out. Critical serve right here. And he pulls out of something he hadn't done. Gave him a short side top serve. Not enough room with the table in the way to get enough energy on the ball to get it back onto the table.
Correct, yeah.
So you can make your racket speed enough that it'll overcome the spin on the ball. But when the table's in the way, you don't really have the room.
Sure.
So that was a perfect position. Great example of that right there on that serve. Just not enough room to make it happen. A good hand switch, by the way, earlier. I don't know how many people caught that. Silva switched hands, hit that back left-handed.
Yeah, that's just next level skill set to be able to, in a point that's that fast, transition from right to left and be able to stay in the point and get it back into your dominant hand, in control, mind you, right?
Yeah, I mean, just balanced everything. He moved and it was just seamless. You didn't even, if I thought I saw it in real time, but just confirmed it there in the semi-slow-mo. Because we don't really slow it that slow. But it fits good with the rhythm of the music they were playing.
Here we are, Roger. Sonora Silva of Texas Wesleyan leads 2-1. One more game and he punches his ticket to the semifinal round of men's singles.
He's questioning his choices there. Yeah, I'm sure Coach Doru said, get your backhand into play. And however you do it, doesn't matter. Just get your backhand into play. Because when they go forehand to forehand, I would say it's a 50-50 shot with Victor. It's been pretty even forehand to forehand. But when it goes forehand to backhand, correct, Silva's backhand's way more dangerous, not only in the direction, but the ability to make the ball just cut side spin.
Sure.
Is much higher.
Yeah, we saw that Silva is very comfortable when Victor opts to step around, hit big forehand. He punches and redirects that ball really well. But again, Victor Shi not out of this while he's down 1-2. He definitely had his chances in that third game.
And he came back.
He did. But he had to do it again in game number 2. He was actually able to win game 2. But you just don't want to see him continue to put himself in these holes at the midway point of these games. He's down 7-4, 8-4. He came back once. He came back
much.
again. That's just a lot of work. That's a lot of mental work as well.
7-5, okay. But, 8-6, much better. But you want to be 7-7, 8-8 or up.
Sonora Silva, Texas Wesleyan to serve.
Again, set it up to open with the backhand. Much more dangerous coming off the backhand side. Yeah, he had his feet set for that forehand the whole time. I don't think it mattered what Victor did. That ball was going to get a really sharp forehand.
Wow, just again, amazing ability to get in on top of that point so fast, catch that backhand off the bounce. Just an amazing shot there by Sonora Silva as he leads here 3-0 in this fourth game in the quarterfinals of men's singles. Again, the winner will move on to the semifinal matchup. We had some action going on in the outer tables. Sid Naresh punched his ticket to the semifinals.
And the other thing is, after this match, it's going to transition from best 3 out of 5 to into the 7. So
correct.
It's a little different when you have to win that, possibly in that 7th game. Because if you have to play a 7 in your semi and then get into the final and your opponent only played, wins in 4,
Sure.
there's a lot of energy used to win in 7.
Yeah.
But again, it could also be a positive, especially if you were down, like 3-2 and then stormed back to end up winning the match. I mean, that could be a really big positive energy while physically maybe draining. Sometimes that mental positivity can overcome it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a motivating factor to be able to come from behind and win that and get yourself into a point to start fresh into a final match.
That was great by Victor. Needed it so much. Needed to get on the board. But that was a good placement on the serve. He hadn't done that serve to that position. Again, that was Victor dictating where the ball positioning was. And he went slightly inside the backhand and then went to the forehand. Getting away from the backhand, because the backhand from Silva is just dangerous right now. A little bit of struggle with the placement there from Victor. Knows he has to be really precise, because if he loses, his day's over.
Again, just an unlucky net ball there. Victor Shi trails 2-5 in game 4. He really needs to keep this thing close. He doesn't want to put himself in a situation where he has another gap that he has to dig himself out of.
Much better going into the wide forehand than trying to go into that backhand. And he gets back within 2. That was super dangerous. That ball hit the net, went straight up, but with the angle that it was hit from, it just cleared the outside edge.
Yeah, beautiful backhand up the line there for Sonora Silva. And was it up the line? It was up the line and moving away from Victor.
Yeah, he knew that he could open with that backhand, and he's kind of been not relying on it, trying to use the rest of his game. And there he's like, I need this point.
Yeah, we've been here before. Victor has been here before. He's come back the last 2 games he has had to come back from this very same position. Let's see if he can do it again.
Oh, good spin variation. Decided not to go power into the backhand, but spun hard into the backhand. So the counter carried out of the table. Oh, interesting position. More Victor needs to be doing with the heavy spin rotation. He doesn't need to be blasting the ball at Sonora Silva, because when he's blasting the ball, he's getting it back faster than he can recover. So he needs to keep using that spin variation from that big loop.
Yeah, and great effort there by Victor to make the adjustment to get back into that table, because he was not expecting that ball to land as short as it did.
Yeah, if he would have just kind of stayed in that position, he would have got handcuffed.
Exactly.
He let it drop and really changed the spin. Risky shot.
And regardless of what happens at this point, hats off and round of applause to Victor Shi, being down 7-4, 8-4, 3 straight games and finding a way to come back.
Oh, it dropped out from, went underneath the racket.
We're going to see here in just a moment. Silva goes with the Calderano two-hand.
Is that a real name thing now?
Might as well.
Yeah, he needs to cheer for himself there. Because, man, he was down, came back, and now he's up.
He's won 6 straight points.
Yeah, huge. Huge. Mistake.
I still like it. I mean, he was
He was in
he's
control
been
of it.
reeling. He's been feeling it for this past few points. He got his step around and where he wanted it. Why not go with it? Silva just hit just an amazing shot.
Well, the problem is he's not breaking the corner. If he breaks his backhand sideline, Silva can't hit that shot. Oh.
And instead of this being 3-1 Sonora Silva it was up 8-4, we find ourselves tied going to a 5th and deciding game in this men's quarterfinal.
Victor's probably going, I just got out of prison.
Yeah, out of prison. He has 9 lives. I mean, again, I will continue to say this. He found himself down 7-4, 8-4, 3 straight games. He did pull one of those out, and he pulls out the 4th one.
Yeah, and the thing is it's a combination of him making good decisions, hitting good shots, but putting Silva in uncomfortable places.
Now, I've seen some players, again, previous days here, they were up 7-4, 8-4. They got very relaxed, played loose, tried to hit some really big shots.
Yeah,
they just give points away, and then they found themselves tied or then ultimately down and losing a game. And I told some of our counterparts in the booth, I said, those decisions will come back to haunt you, and it's exactly what happened.
Yep.
In this game, though, it did not happen. Sonora didn't give him any points. He didn't play loose points. Victor just played that much better.
Right. Yeah. Silva's playing at his level, and then Victor just met it and found a way to jump over it just enough to get the game, to force the 5th game. What a depth change right there.
Yeah, but that's the first point in Game 5. I mean, will it get any better than that? I don't know what it's going to take for them to get
a lot of
to the
pressure
finish
on
line, right? I mean,
to do something better going forward. It's a lot of pressure. They've risen the bar.
That's college table tennis for you folks.
And so is that. I mean, sometimes the net loves you, sometimes the net hates you.
Yeah, we've seen
Victor.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Victor hit some nets, and that spin just kicks off, but that time got a little bend.
Very good job by Victor changing the depths, making Silva reach just a little bit more than he was comfortable with.
Yeah, and Victor in a position that he has not been in most of this game. He's up early in the 5th and deciding game.
Well, let's see if he can throw it into another gear and accelerate away. Because, I mean, the farther you can get ahead, the better. Great spin variation. took a little bit of the drive out, but added a bunch more spin.
Yeah, he definitely souped
You
up
could
that
see
last
that.
one.
You could
Yeah.
see that arc.
Arc got higher. Here we're going to have a change of sides.
And no timeouts. So Victor's going to be going over with the 4-point lead to the other side of the table.
Yeah, and Victor electing. We've seen 3 straight when he's returning serve. He's giving it, controlling it early in the point with the backhand to backhand with some soft spin, and then giving himself that room to really extend on that side. And Sonora has not been in this situation at all in this match with this big of a hole. Let's see what he's got left in his bag. Because he's played some amazing table tennis up until this point.
But you have to give hats off to Victor, because what he's done is he realized that cracking backhand to cracking backhand with Sonora Silver is a losing proposition.
And not that time.
No.
Not that time. He lost that point earlier, but not this time.
Yeah, he refused to give it up. Look, that was risky. And then right back on the attack. Nice job with the counter on the backhand. Relaxed his wrist a ton. Absorbed all the energy. That ball just stopped and floated right in front of Victor.
And there are a bunch of points here that Sonora has just missed off the top of the net. He wants all of those back. And again, another one straight off the top of the net. Rushed that point for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he got what he wanted, but he was so happy to get it, he overplayed it.
Wow. Congratulations, Victor Shi, the 6th seed. He ups the number 3 seed. Sonora Silva of Texas Wesleyan, the top player from Cal Poly, moves on to the semifinals. Again, big round of applause to Sonora Silva for a very impressive run in this men's singles. But Victor Shi moves on.
Hope he goes get some liquid IV right now.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back momentarily. This is day 3. We are in singles action, folks.
Moving on to the semis. All right, everybody, it's time to move on to our women's singles